Ready to transform how you think about love and mental health? This May, join host Nyomi Banks and Dr. Will Washington and expert guests on Love and Mental Health, a powerful 4-part series exploring relationships through the lens of mental wellness. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Ask Nyomi, Bridging the Gap. Do you have a story to share? Your experience matters. Email us at asknyomi@gmail.com and be part of the conversation that's changing lives.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
What are some common barriers that prevent people from expressing?
Hey, it's your girl goddess Nyomi Banks here from the Season of Self-Love podcast.
Yeah, I would say remorse. So shame and guilt is a very dividing emotional.
Now, these are one of the many amazing conversations that we have every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast with myself, Nyomi Banks, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington of Washington Wellness Institute. Come by.
The reality of our relationships with people.
Come by.
And a lot of times we're afraid of how people look at us. And so that compassion can't enter.
You can hit us on the
That's
website,
really
the
big
Season
barrier.
of Self-Love
Really big barrier.
podcast.com.
Let me ask you this. With the truth, is it
And that's the disappointment when you fuck a guy for over an hour and he just go.
Did anybody recognize you from film in the industry? They did? Okay. Okay. Well, I just came in. I did what I do. You are such an advocate. One thing is what I love is I love seeing a lot of the beautiful women that's in the industry as sex advocates.
And I would set up crystals on their body based off of their chakra. And the crystals, what they do is if they sit long enough, they begin to like permeate through the body. They begin to expand through the body and they create a grid.
I shot with John Q too. You know, John Q, you know, I'm the first big girl, but he did his side, you know, his side. Yeah. But
I would, and I have given my last dime to people. I've given when I should have just watched. And it's not always about giving financially. It's giving your space and your time and your energy.
So that's kind of like a 50-50 answer, what I got. That wasn't really a yes or no answer.
I think I actually would, and this is of course the therapist in me, I would be asking them, like, tell me how this is celibacy for you.
So what's first here?
I shoot them just like I would be shooting a regular human. So you don't put the emphasis on that. So it makes it more consistent with the title of being transgender.
I have a good friend. She lives here in Atlanta. I met her on a porn set. She wrote a book called From Porn to the Pulpit. Now, I won't say she was like this super... Yeah, she's my best friend. She's my best friend. Her name is Danielle Williams McCord. She wrote an amazing book called From Porn to the Pulpit. She's been preaching for 10 years now, but I met her on a porn set.
In any business that you find yourself in. Because definitely for me, like, you know, creating a product to push to the consumer, and for me, everything was consumer driven. If they didn't want it, I'm not going to make it because I knew it.
Felt like if we kept our head a little below the sagebrush, that we would just be able to keep on going without any interference or anything like that. But you know, that's
like, dude, I'm sitting in like the dressing room, like just with all the 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds. I'm like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 25. I'm like, how old are you? I'm 23. And I'm like, dude, I'm 30.
Before I leave the house, I feel like the last look. You know, this is how I feel, this is what I'm thinking, you know. Now, when I get out and interact with other people, it's going to be what it is.
Right, okay.
Welcome to a podcast like no other. Get ready for insightful conversations, diverse perspectives, and a touch of inspiration. This is Ask Nyomi, Bridging the Gap podcast. Join your host, the dynamic Nyomi Banks, as she delves into the heart of various topics with a refreshing blend of curiosity and wisdom. Each week, tune in as Nyomi is joined by special guests who bring their unique stories and expertise to the table. It's a journey of discovery, learning, and growth. And let's not forget about the one and only dog pound Mike, adding his flavor and flair to the mix. Together, they make a dynamic duo you won't want to miss. From thought-provoking discussions to moments of laughter and joy, Ask Nyomi. Bridging the Gap podcast offers a space where great topics meet amazing guests. So, mark your calendars, set your reminders, and prepare to be entertained and enlightened. Join Nyomi Banks and Dog Pound Mike weekly for an unforgettable podcast experience. Get ready to bridge the gap, expand your horizons, and immerse yourself in the world of Ask Nyomi. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a podcast journey like no other.
All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome to another episode of Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast. This is where we talk about love, sex, relationship, cultural differences, and so much more while bridging the gap between them all and teaching the world on sex, love, language, attitude, and some spiritual uplifting. What's going on, Talk about Mike?
It's all good, all good.
All right, I see the BTG crew. Hey. All right, so I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and tonight we are wrapping up a very powerful month-long series about love and mental health. We had some very unforgettable moments, huh?
Yes, we have.
Very vulnerable truths, transformative conversations, but tonight we are celebrating this all with you, and thank you all for just holding this space with us. But before we get into the recap, I want to do a huge shout out to our partners, Mental Health America, the entire community that has been supporting our fundraiser and grabbing those dope mind and heart merch pieces. I want y'all to remember that 100% of the proceeds go straight to the mental health services. So I thank you all for being a part of this movement. Now, this is our last week. Mm-hmm. So we had to make sure that we brought in our main man, right? Yep. You know, he got so many accolades to his name, so we just gonna do like this. What's going on? Dr. Will, hey. We gotta take you off of mute.
You're on mute.
Let's see, can we get you right now?
How about now? Is that better?
There we go.
Got you. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. There's so much going on. Oh my gosh. This is probably one of the fastest, slowest months I've been in. It's one of the fastest, slowest months I've been in. Oh my God.
You know what? This month, especially on this series, has been amazing from all of the guests that we've had. I know some of them is a part of your village that you brought in. Some great, just great talk. Even with our listeners writing in on some of their stories have been, truly amazing and great. I know before this morning when I was sitting down and I was sitting at my altar, and I would just say thank you for even just us being able to be on this platform and to be able to, have this conversation like this. I did have a few people a couple of days ago reach out and say, are we doing this again? How long are we doing? I said, well, this is the end of the month.
Right. I was like, that's the month.
Right. Yeah. This is it. So if you want to see the replays from, the other shows, that's great. I said, but you can tune in tonight too. But this is something that I truly want to do. I want to, kind of bring this into where we are doing this again on a yearly basis, especially here, and just to truly tap in. But I don't know if you're gonna get mad at me, but I just want to share something with you. Dr. Will got a seminar or a retreat that's going on next
All
month.
right.
You want to share that?
I forgot we were doing that. Look, we're doing what? I'm excited about this. This is next month.
Yes, it's next month.
June 28th, 29th, 30th.
Is that what it is?
the last week in the June. The last week in the June. That Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So it's a month. It's literally a month from today.
Yeah.
A month to today. So
we got 30 days to get ready.
Yeah. So let me say this. Dr. Will and I have been working together for over a year now. I was blessed for him just to come into my space, into my life, and we've been able to do a whole lot of things together. One thing that he has done is he had came in and punched in right when needed to be. But this taking us full circle, because right now, next month, as he said, we're going to be doing a 3-day seminar, a 3-day retreat.
June 27th through the 29th.
Yeah,
June 27th to the 29th.
27th through the 29th in Columbus, Ohio, right? Am I saying
nope,
it right?
In Canton. So it's in Canton.
All right. Well, see, there you go. Canton, Ohio. So it's only limited seating. I mean, limited spaces, right? Only
intentionally limited.
Yeah. Limited spaces. And it's all inclusive. That means food with it too?
Food, wine and dine, all that. We got a chef coming in, hibachi style. We're doing a whole bunch of different stuff. So I'm excited about it. We have snacks, everything. It's gonna be great. Healthy snacks too. See,
okay.
Holistic snacks.
Yeah. So we will be sharing this information within the next week or so. I know we did like a little plug. I saw you put out a little plug, and I just not retweeted, but put it back out. But we definitely will be, sending out. And again, it's limited because this is my first time out, doing this with Dr. Will. But I believe it's going to be an amazing experience. It's all about helping people find their purpose. So it's rebirth and purpose. So definitely. We would love for y'all to tap in. So I know people say, well, Nyomi, when are you doing a meet and greet? When are you doing so? Well, here I go.
Right, we're doing a heal out, and that's and I have to just express that this is an intensive. So this is not just like a moment where you're like, I might just be around. Like, no, like everybody's getting a plan. Everyone's getting a strategy. Everyone's getting an unlocking. Everyone's getting some type of form of wellness to help them break that plateau that they might be experiencing.
Yes. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for everything that we have to offer them. This is truly the turning point right here. This is that pivot. This is the pivot.
And this is my first time doing it in Ohio. Normally I do it, and I'm being asked to do it in other states, other countries. So this is the first time I'm actually doing it in Ohio. So this is pretty big for me, actually doing something here in the home.
Well, beautiful. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of it. So
it's gonna be exciting.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah. All right, so let's get on what we talked about here. So I know a lot of people said, Nyomi, why did you start this whole series? What got you to start? Well, it was from one of our listeners who's been a listener from day one. He's a disabled veteran who had a real question. And his real question was, should I just accept being single because of my mental health challenges? And I remember when reading that letter, and this was late last year, like in October, November. And I remember even in my response back to him, I asked him, I said, I would love for you to be a part of a show. I said, but before I give you any information, I would love to surround you with a group of people. I want to talk to Dr. Will and maybe some other specialists to kind of help you on your way. For me, just not giving you relationship advice, but also just do the whole thing. Because when we're talking about mental illness or mental awareness in relationships, we're talking about the whole thing. We're talking about you and that loved one, family members. We're talking about it all. So then I remember having a conversation with Dr. Will, and at that time we were only talking about one show. And I remember that was the end of last year. And I remember calling Dr. Will again, and I said, you know what? I think I want to do it a month-long series. I think it'll be great. Whatever you need, let me know. I said, all right. not knowing that I'm gonna need you all 5 weeks.
I thought I was off for a second.
All 5 weeks. So then when I
Mhm.
decided, I said, okay, we're going to do it during the Mental Health Awareness Month. But I didn't just want to talk about it. I didn't just want to talk about it. I wanted to, kind of raise money to, kind of put our mouth. What's that saying? Put your money where your mouth.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Is
Yeah.
right. Put your money with the mouth is. And I was wanting to see really how strong the BTG crew was. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do a goal of $500, and we gonna do it. So let me say this: I don't want to put nobody on the spot, but we ain't make it yet.
What?
We did not make that goal as of yet, and we still
We got 3 more days.
We got 3 more days to make it, and 100% of that goes to there. And I'm talking about with the Western, not the T-shirt, because that's 2 different things. Right. That's 2 different things. But yeah, as I said before, Dr. Mike, do me a favor. Could you put up that link again?
I sure will.
And you can go to asknaomi.com, and it's right there on the website. Excuse me, on the front page. Is that it? That's it. That's it right there. So you guys can tap in right there. Like I said, it could be $5, $10, $20, $100. Go ahead and knock it down and bring
500.
and bring it on in. But it's truly for a good cause. And if you guys have been watching the whole month-long series, we had some amazing guests. That first week we had Krista Nicole. The second week we had Aquila with us. Aquila. We had Aquila. Our third one we had Dr. Alex, and our fourth one we had Dr. Laura Bisbee. Just like I'm doing everything from the top of my head right now.
You quick. You got me. I was like, don't look at me. I was looking at that camera. Like, don't look at me.
But they all have been amazing guests with amazing stories, and just even giving their insights on the conversations that goes in hand. But again, this goes back to the letter that we were talking about. We had several other letters that came in as well that I thought that was very beneficial to the conversation. And a lot of people don't understand that it's more than just anxiety, bipolar, ADHD. It's more than just the person that it is. Even through the time that we were talking here, we found out that a whole family was taken away, unalive from just this very thing, from mental, health, mental, that. And so I believe that this conversation need to continue on. I know I want to do other things, but I know I want to at least dedicate 1 month to it every month. So I'm going to commit to it. Dr. Powell, you commit to it?
I'm in there.
All right. I ain't going to put Dr. Will on the spot. Dr. Will, you committing to it?
I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going with this. Like, I stay hoping and hopeful. Like, I got to read it. I got to read it first.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. So I want to do a check-in with you all. And I want y'all to drop in the comments. I'm going to do a poll right now. Which episode resonated with you the most? All right. Was it the first one, dating while managing mental health? Was it episode 2, supporting a partner with mental health challenges? Was it week 3, navigating relationships during mental wellness month? Or was it week 4, breaking generational barriers in mental health in relationships? So if you can drop those in the comments, and we definitely will be opening up the lines for you can give us. So I'm going to give y'all the phone number right now. 765-275-1527. That's 765-275-1527 is the number to call in. So the lines will be open if you have any questions for myself, Dr. Mike, or Dr. Will. All right. So let's take this back to some very powerful moments that I know that stayed with me. So our very first one, and we're going to talk about week 1 with Krista, Miss Krista Nicole. And actually, I see her in the chat. Hey, Krista. I see her in the chat. Well, actually, this was this actually was an answer. She had a lot of answers to the letter that was written in, the letter from the disabled veteran. And Krista reminded us about your diagnosis doesn't make you unlovable. Do you remember that conversation?
I love that one.
Yeah.
That one stuck with me.
Yeah, it did with me too. And I also remember you sharing about disclosing that timing matters, and how therapy prepares us for it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, what I loved about that is that you can have people think that you can't really have full love because of religious barriers, or you have to like earn a type of love after going through religious like foundation. But the conversation allowed a sense of grace and romanticism. And I really appreciated how there was a level of grace in relational building without compromising your faith. And I really appreciated that, the genuineness of that.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah. You know what I loved about what stood out to me too? And I remember actually talking to my daughter about this conversation when Krista has shared about her when she's especially when she's in the beginning of a relationship, how she doesn't watch TV or certain things because it kind of it romanticize the relationships that she has, so that kind of influence her in that different relationship.
Being susceptible,
supposed to look like. I thought that was dope. I've never heard that before. I just remember sitting there, was like, wow, that is very interesting. I never ever thought of it like that. But then when you do think about that, we do. We want our relationships to be so fairy tale like, you know, the prince and the queen or the king or the princesses. You know, we want that person to say, why are you looking at me like that?
You know, that's right. It's not even the person. It's even the black movies, the black love movies, and the romantic comedies. You want everything to be great at the end. You know? Everything to be great, and that's what we try to put our lives and relationships into the aspect, but in real life, everything don't end up like that.
Yeah.
That was a great point. That was a great point she made on that.
It was. It's that I had to take that Krista for a minute and give it to my middle baby.
That's funny because I mean it's real though. I mean, and Doc Pound said it though. Like we also live our stereotypes in those romanticized movies. They give us the stereotypes. They give us the outline of what they think we should go through. And so then we believe what we think we should go through to find love. That's wild.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, and I don't know, maybe I haven't seen none in it. And this going back to mental health awareness, have we ever seen any positive? I know we've seen negative, but any positive outcomes in movies where they had, you know, people dealing with mental health awareness, that it was a positive outtake that came from it.
That recent Netflix movie that just came out, it was something about love. It was a young black movie too. Regina actually directed that.
Forever?
It just came out. It was really good.
Forever?
The season?
Forever. Yeah, Forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, because
he had ADHD. Okay, yeah.
That was amazing. That was an amazing story.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was great. They actually coming out with the season 2.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they coming out with season 2. Yeah, so that was a good one. That was a good one.
Now, but I hope that the second season is going to be stereotypical, right? Where one person goes to college, they start dating and all that. The other one doesn't, but then they find somebody, and then she goes back to him, and then he realizes that she's too late because she found someone else. You know what I mean? Like I already see I see the stereotype of the love drama, and I'm hoping that it doesn't go stereotypical, because what happened was very unexpected. It's actually a really healthy resolve. And I hope they keep that same positivity. I do.
Yeah. But you know what it came from, right? It came from the book by Judy Blume. Do you remember Judy Blume?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
24th Grade Nothing and Fudge. Yeah.
Wow. She wrote these love stories. I love this.
Yes. Judy Blume. Yes.
Okay.
And I was like, you said, okay.
All right, Judy. Loving that.
You know, but that is one thing too, because it did so well on Netflix, and sometimes they do take that premise and put a Hollywood spin on it, and the Hollywood spin, everything's perfect, everything, you know. I mean, like a regular movie, you meet somebody, then you go through tragic stuff, you go through some, and then everything's good at the end, because that's what that's their persona of making the audience feel happy,
Exactly.
But the audience should feel the way that it is. So
Right. But I think for me, I don't think that it wasn't that fairy tale story because they wasn't together.
Right.
I resonated with so well because I saw with the mother. For her, for the mother, for one thing, is that dealing with her son, the oldest one, having ADHD, and she was just so helicopter like on him, like everything
Right.
from there. But and I can understand, some of the point of view. So it was just so real. Like there was nothing that I thought that was stereotypical of it. This is just what it was like, realization of what it is. But what I did like, what I saw is that how they handle the way that he dealt with ADHD. What they're talking about him with his classes and what he had to do, with that to get over. But even also in his everyday life, for him thinking the way that he had to be when he was just so connected with, what's the young lady name? Keisha. With Keisha, that it kind of like, okay, maybe this can be a part of his, mental health awareness that is coming from more of a, a dependent, type of thing. But then towards the end, this is where she said, well, you need to get your dependence from me and do your own thing. Right. So it's kind of like you see like a growth even within, his healing process from that.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I honestly believe that we don't recognize that, like we believe that mental health illness means that we have the inability to love or be loved. There are so many people with handicaps and invisible disabilities, or people that have disabilities, that are finding love, that are making a way to feel loved, and they're able to create their own world. And we just don't see it all because it's not publicized. But people out here being in love, we just don't. It's just that was what TV shows us. They make it seem like it's a horrible thing happening right now.
Right.
But that's a good thing about what we're doing here on the show, is because people don't know what mental health really is. Because, like I say, in the society that I'm being a little old, grew up in, mental health, he's crazy. He walking around the street with no shoes, crazy stuff. But it doesn't have to be that you're crazy. Like he got HDAD, but when we looked at the guy on the movie, he was a regular kid.
Exactly. You would have never known.
But we would never known. And that's what we're dealing with. Some things that people just don't understand what's going on with them mentally and with other people mentally. But this is shining light on what mental health illness is.
Yeah. It's something that I want to highlight on you when you talked about the emotional immaturity with dating, Mike, with the dating culture and the trauma of the ghosting, all that. Back in the day, there was no social media. There was nothing like, it was a phone. It wasn't even cell phones back then. It was like the phone at home. So if the there was no blocking. You know what I'm saying? If you called, the phone was going.
That
was it.
I grew up with a busy signal, and I grew up on the phone. My mama, get off that damn phone, boy. Everybody got to use a phone in the house. So, hey.
So it wasn't that much rejection or anything, out there. So it's like, even right now. So I guess back then we really didn't know what emotional immaturity or emotional maturity was, because we really didn't have to. We knew about the neighbors next door or somebody who we went to school with. Now we're able to touch everybody around the world, and sometimes they come as themselves and sometimes they come as catfish. So we don't know who they are, and so they can play with you emotionally, all the time, just by faking and being of something that they're not. So I love that conversation that you was talking about there, is that everybody is not really being themselves authentically in this dating world. Yeah. All right. So on a previous poll, it was revealed that 64 of our listeners have withheld a diagnosis when dating out of fear. Yes. 64% of listeners withheld diagnosis when dating out of fear. All right. So now this takes us to week 2. Week 2, we was brought by the powerhouse, Aquila Whitley, and she shared what it really means to support partners with mental health challenges. And Dr. Will, you dropped some gems that night too. Do you remember what you said that night?
That was a long night. The energy was high and the mental health was real. But what I can say is I remember talking about the importance of childhood development and what we expect in unresolved relationship. When we expect in relationships is usually because of unresolved issues in our past. And so sometimes we look for our partners based upon unresolved childhood issues. I remember that being a big thing.
Right. Yeah. You're right there. And remember, we had gotten a letter from a girl, and this is where where a girl that was diagnosed with she was diagnosed with bipolar or something like that, and had younger children. I'm trying to get exactly what the letter had said, but we were talking about that of being bipolar and if they should stay or go. I think that was what it was. Yeah, if they should go. And I think Aquila has shared how empathy without over functioning is very crucial. Because my question was, and I'm not going to quote myself quote for quote, but my question was is that especially if somebody was in a relationship, like say from high school, because I think I made the example was the family that was unalive. The woman and her husband had been together since high school.
Wow.
And then he was eventually diagnosed with a mental illness. And he was always trying to, several different times he attempted to, unalive himself. And in that process, she was trying to help him. Like she was, posting on social media, trying to raise money, doing everything possible that she could do to get him the necessary needs that she had. And I remember watching that she put hashtag Dad is alive today. Every day that this man was alive, she would put, let's celebrate hashtag Dad is alive. And on the very day that he had passed away, that he had took everyone's life, she had put hashtag Dad is alive. And they were supposed to be going to their oldest son graduation. And he unalived them all as well as himself. And so that was why my question was with Aquila was that, what if that, have that, what we feel so like we want to help them. We want to help them so bad. But, now we find out at the last minute and it's gone that we can't. And I remember I asked that question because Aquila, I love her, but Aquila was like, you going to choose you and your children, and I thought that answer was so real. It was so real. But then I was like, wow. I felt that woman looking at her post like she was trying to save her childhood friend, her childhood love. You know what I'm saying? She was trying to save that person and end up everybody's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Aquila really, the way that she focuses on emotional responsibility in relationships is so emotionally sobering. And I think a lot of us don't know how to get to that balance because we're always pursuing a love rather than being with the love itself. And that's a hard way to reset. That's a hard way to reset. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. For the season of self-love, we was talking about the month of May was all about, nurturing relationships. And that was one of the things that I had even into my own personal is that I had a family member that has recently been diagnosed with what they say, borderline bipolar. I don't even know what that
borderline
is.
Personality disorder. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. And even in their interaction, I found myself reacting instead of responding, and I was like, whoa, wait, what is this? And then fast forward, I had to go back to this conversation. Like we literally just had this conversation with Aquila on that Thursday and everything happened on that weekend, on that Saturday. I was like, okay, this is why I needed to hear this the way that she said it. So this can make me allow me to make a decision that I need to make. Like, okay, are you going to, or are you going to pull back and allow that person to do the work that's needed for them to take care of what they need to take care of, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I honestly, to learn to reset like that is not only a skill, but that's a muscle.
Yeah.
That's an emotional muscle to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I said when she hit raw that day, she hit raw, and I didn't even know why she hit raw until 2 days later. And
Wow.
2 days later, that made it make sense for me. But not only made it make sense for me, but also to read that story of that lady. So the two of them combined, it allowed
Mm-hmm.
me to make the decision that needed to be made to further go along with my family members, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So that's what I hope that anybody that has been listening to whatever episode that you have been listening to, that you can truly listen with open ears and open minds. Because sometimes when things come to you and messages come to you, listen, because I'm telling you, it applies when you don't even think it applies. And for me, things come up like right away, right
Right.
away. Yeah, right away. Yeah,
Mm.
right away. All right. So I want to go to a poll reveal. Was it week 2? 70% had supported of needed to support in the relationship. That's what the poll revealed. 70% had supported for need support in their relationship. All right, so let's go to week 3. All right. We talked about navigating relationships during Wellness Month, and that conversation with Miss Alex Alosa.
Alosun Day.
Alosa Day. There you go. Alosa Day. We opened up a lot, especially when it comes to emotional safety and what to do when one person is in a relationship just isn't ready to seek help. Mike, what hit home for you in that conversation? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top, but just going back, what really hit home is when people don't feel they need the help.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. When people like, I'm all right, ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm going through some things. I'm just, and not realizing that they really need help with things. They need counseling. They need, some emotional support. A lot of people go there today like that ain't what I need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about that time when the gentleman came on and talked about, what he needs to do in his relationship and how we kind of reset on the expectations between relationship, manhood, and fatherhood. And like how those 3 things were all happening at the same time. And what was really being asked beyond how they were treating me, having to look past the reaction and look at what their needs were and support.
Yeah, I did. I thought that was a really deep that whole episode was. I mean, because we touched so many different things. Yeah. Like I said, even when Rock called in, with him calling in about his new baby, coming in, and with that conversation, I remember listening to you all talking, and I said, you know what, this has to go beyond on what surface is right now, because we're talking about a woman who's already had a baby by somebody else. So we talk now, she's pregnant now. So there is a mental pregnancy that's going on, that, and when it comes to that, the hormones are crazy. I know, I've been there, and there's a lack of a lot of things that's going on with her. And you have to be emotional and intertwined with her as well as with yourself,
Right.
especially you being a first-time father. It's very hard to try to figure out what type of person do I want to be? What type of father do I want to be? And in knowing that, you have to figure out, okay, who am I? I cannot be the best father that I can be until I know who I am and what I desire as a father. So I thought that was pretty dope of that whole conversation that we had. Yeah.
And it goes back to, in that stage, being a first-time father, you go back to, how was your father in your life?
Yeah.
Because whether he was there, present or not, it's still a feeling or reaction that every man has. Whether he grew up with his father, whether he grew up without his father, or what have you, it's always a reaction that he has that he's going to think back to.
Right.
My father.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that one too. Yeah. All right. And so let's go to last week conversation with Dr. Bisbee. That was another one. Okay. What stood out to me is the letter that was written. The letter that was written about the wife. They didn't have any children, but one was a victim of sexual abuse from in the family, and her husband wasn't a victim of, but he
he know of family members that had the same, so they were afraid to have children because of the impact that they thought that it will be, bringing to their family, to their children. It will be, more of a generational thing there. What stood out to you, Dr. Will?
I think it was understanding the difference between the ownership of identity versus concept. A lot of us live the concept of what we think we should be rather than owning the relationship that we actually have.
Yeah.
And that displacement causes so much illness because we're kind of torn. We're torn from that. And so I found that being so, I guess, enlightening, because I never thought about the way that she spoke. Allowed me to really see the concept of humanity versus the identity of humanity itself. That battle has been something that's been going on for ages across cultures.
Yeah.
I thought that was so pivotal.
Yeah. The thing is, with each one of the conversations that we had all 4 weeks, they all been different, but they all been the same. They all been different, but they all been the same, to where is we're looking at as truly of healing as a whole, as a community, and understanding that it's not just one way, that it's not just Black, it's just not white, it's just not whatever, but it's spread amongst all. With Dr. Bisbee, she had shared, her being over there in Europe, how their lifestyle is over there is so different than here, but then we still have those same stigmas, as well, over here. It's one thing that that Dr. Will, that you talk about a lot, is the second healing that heals generations. If you can talk on that, for those that miss, I love that. I say it, I repeat after you, and I say it sometimes when I'm over there on the season of self-love, because that is true. That is truly true. So I want you to explain that a little bit to our listeners.
Yeah. So second healing is based upon the concept of secondary trauma. So secondary trauma is me seeing the trauma that you may have gone through has an internalizing impact, or has a traumatic impact on me because I'm witnessing it. So something even as simple as 9/11, right? Watching that happen. We were not there. We weren't the people experiencing that, but us watching that was traumatic. And so, through my research, I created secondary healing, because I realized if watching this and witnessing this can change the way that we look at our lives, then also witnessing your healing can also see the capacity and the capability I may have in myself to heal. And so it's important to see that you have to be around others that are in their process of healing, because it's also going to challenge the healing that you might be capable of within yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love that. I love that whole thing there. All right, listeners, I got a question for you. Have you or someone that you love struggled with generational trauma? Give us a yes or no, or if you're still navigating through that. All right, family. So it's time to hear from you. We're going to open up the lines for you to chat. And also, Dog Pound Mike going to put a link up there. All right. So you can come talk to us. What have you learned about yourself during this month? This is the question. What have you learned about yourself during this month? And what questions are still on your heart? What questions are still on your heart? Again, I'm going to give the question one more time. What did you learn about yourself this month? And if you don't want to call in, share it in the chat, because we're looking at the chats. I see the live chats going on. I see Miss Krista is in there today.
My favorite.
Yeah, it is in there today. And also, I want to remind you all about our fundraiser. Right now, we got until, I think, Saturday, right? Until Saturday, as I said before, 100% of all the proceeds are going. Our goal was just $500. That's it. That's all. We definitely can go over. It ain't nothing wrong with going over. You can go to asknaomi.com. I'm going to spell it for you there. That's ASKNYOMI.com. And I got to spell that Naomi like that, because there's folks out here pretending to be me with the NA.
Oh my God.
All right. So I was going to let it open up a little bit, but I see ain't nobody, and we getting close to the end of the show. Woo.
Woo woo. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to the comments. Do we have any comments in here, Mike?
We ain't got no questions. We got everybody listening. We got a lot of yeses and so informatives and emotional feelings. We got a lot of comments. No question. I guess everybody did pretty well with understanding what we was talking about this month, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing is, and just from my point of view, I'm no expert, of course, I'm dog pound, but just being aware of what mental illness is from people. And I guess what you're talking about before, even going back to the series we were talking about forever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my issue, is at times in the series, I kind of hit a problem with the mother and how she was so protective over the son. And the dynamic to me in that whole story was the mother and the father. Because the way the father talked to her sometimes, like, no, we gotta let him go, we gotta let him live, we gotta do this from his experience, and hers more experience as being protective. That whole, you know, in the next year, I want to see that whole dynamic of that relationship as well, because it wasn't what you call a Bruce where he's hitting her, they fighting thing, but it was some issues where they didn't agree, and in relationships with parents, you don't agree all the time.
Right.
So that whole thing has to be navigated too, because your kids are watching that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I want to see how that is played in the next series too, and with parents in every relationship, you know, how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to. Yeah.
I mean, you look at me like, what's wrong with her?
You know, because honestly, and I know we're going back to the show right now. Mike just went straight back to the show. Just go straight back to the show.
You made a good point, though.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't care for the mother as much myself. I thought she was very, you know, clingy. But then I kind of understood why it was like that, because she was raising a black male, to become a black man. And I guess it seems that the father would be outside of the home because he was working so much. And so she was more of hands-on caregiver to the child. So when the father comes in, I seen it in so many different ways. When he came in, you know, it was like smooth. He like me, you know, just let him go, just let him do. And it's like, you know, it was a battle that was going in, you know, between them both. So I kind of seen it on all ends. I just didn't like the way that she was judgmental and you know, and some of the things and stuff like that. But it was I'm excited to hear what the next one gonna be. I do. Yeah. Yeah.
And let's take this caller. We have a caller here.
All right. Hello, Ask Naomi.
Was calling to ask a question.
Yes.
I wanted to know, is this a mental health line?
No, it's not a mental health line, but we do have a therapist online with us. How can I help you?
Okay. I was calling to ask a question about relationships.
Okay.
Okay. I had a question about the difference between overly concerned and going over the line of maybe an unhealthy relationship when it comes to a partner being concerned about your whereabouts or being concerned about what you're doing with your time when you're not with them. So that was my question.
Okay, now say that one more time. I'm sorry. Just one more time. I'm sorry.
Okay, sure. The difference between in a relationship, what is healthy as far as being concerned for your partner, and then what is borderline unhealthy, where you're kind of tracking your partner's whereabouts when they're not with you.
Could you hear that, Dr. Will?
I sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for calling in and asking this question, because there is a very fine line, and you have to ask yourself, well, there's three ways to look at this. The first one is, what was the expectation of calling back in and checking in, right? Is there a rule like, hey, every time you leave this place, give me a call or a text, or when you're en route to somewhere, give me a call or text? Is there a curfew of when we're supposed to be back, or or not? And then, so once those things are settled, when when you go outside of those things, do you need to worry? Right. So that's on one side of things. The other part is recognizing, who do I become when I'm not getting my need met for reassurance? And that is a hard one because, a lot of times when we feel that void, we have the chance to react or respond. And so having an internal check-in with yourself is going to be the first thing. It's like, what am I actually looking for? Is it that I want to text? Am I catastrophizing the situation? Right. And in what type of mistrust is coming out when they don't fulfill my need? Right. And is it realistic? Right. And so I think it's always about having a self inventory. Check in with yourself before you check out with them.
Yeah. I like that. She had hung up, so I'm assuming that she's listening just on it, listening too. I think when it comes down is the communication on the rules on how our relationship going to be when we go out, or how we, and I don't think it's more of keeping track. I think it's more of a safety issue than anything when going out. Okay. I like how you say is when, we're going to check in, just say if I say I'm going to be gone for a few hours, kicking it with my girls or out with my boys or something like that, give a little text and say, I'm good, or check in or something like that. I know with my middle baby, I know her and her boyfriend, and I know a couple of my family members that have with the trackers. I guess that's what they call them, the 360 trackers that they track, each other going. And I remember when she first told me, I was like, really, y'all tracking each other like that? But then it's for a safety purpose too. And I guess also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Will, if you're feeling like you're in a relationship where you feel like it's their concern is overboard for you, was those signs there before? Because I'm assuming those signs were there before
Exactly.
you got into it, that where it's obsessive like that. So when you look at it, it's like, what rules or what agreement or communication did we set
Right. What
for
is
our
our thing?
relationship? What does that look like? Does that look like, do it okay in our relationships to stay out all night and not be able to talk to one another or whatever? Or do we do, check-ins with one another? And if that person do check in, like you said, check in with yourself. Why does that bother you that person is checking in with you? And that's something that we got to think about too. I love when you say you got to check in with yourself first.
Check in before you check out.
Yeah, because it's like, is what are you doing? And how I know this, and I'm just going to keep it real and honest, because I was doing some sneaky at one point in time in my life, And so when I saw that check out, I was like, you checking in on me, knowing that I wasn't doing what I said we was going to do, on the outside.
Right.
And that's sometimes what we got to check on too. But if it feels obsessive, okay, let me say this. If it feels obsessive to you and you are truly not on no bullshit, okay, then you need to, that's that red light. But if you own something,
be okay with it. And my thing is, and if you don't like it, and you aren't doing anything wrong, then you should have no problem addressing, like, hey, I need to know why you checking in on me.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything. And if you are doing something, check in and say, this is what I need from you. Because my thing is that sometimes you do have to grow up with that person, but sometimes you will grow out of it. But that is a level of maintenance, right? That's relationship maintenance. And it's so important.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
I wish we could ask a question: how long the relationship been going? Because to me, it starts at the beginning of the relationship. Because if the relationship started off like, you was out all the time, you were doing your thing, and he was doing his thing, then y'all met.
Men at the club.
Then that'll be something to be. Is it safety or is it stalking? It's all how the relationship started. I had a relationship where I'm still involved in, and she went out all the time when we met, and I didn't. But it wasn't the fact that I needed to know it, because that's what she was doing before we met. So why am I going to try to change anything and check up on that? Because as long as you're honest, I'm going here, I'll be there. It should be fine. But if it didn't start off like that,
Right.
if it started off shaky, then that's probably the reason where wanting to know where each other is all the time, you know? So
Yeah,
that's
but I've also had friends though that were like, well, I went to the club to meet somebody. I wasn't planning on staying in the club, and then she's staying in the club after she met somebody, and he says, well, if I could pull her in the club, anybody can pull her, and he's worried about someone else pulling her in the club. I'm like, so why? But if she chose you, what's the fear behind that?
Right.
Right. And so now there's a fear being unlocked, and there's insecurity that needs to be understood, because now it's like, well, are you not? Have you had that conversation? I'm not having that conversation. I'm not gonna. Well, you keep projecting a fear that you're gonna be losing her now, and now
So
you're going to withdraw. Exactly.
You're
Right.
gonna
You gotta,
manifest it. Yeah, you're gonna manifest it.
exactly.
But caller, thank you for calling in. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Yeah. You know, it's funny because in my dating life and in my Western life, I told everybody where I was at because I wanted to make sure folks knew. Anything happened to me,
I was a basement kid, so like if you need to find me, I'm at the arcade or I'm in the basement learning the Dungeons and Dragons. Like I was, so I wasn't out.
Well, I'm dog fan. I was in the streets.
The street lights came on. That was third shift.
Street light came on. That's why I was going out.
All right, my beautiful people. All right, so before I wrap, I want to just take a moment just to celebrate what we built. I mean, this series wasn't just about talk, but it was about action. Our fundraiser for the Mental Health America is still live. It is still live. And if you haven't grabbed yours yet, nope, don't even worry about that one. Just go ahead and hit the donation button. It is not too late. We got until Saturday. Head over to the link. It's definitely in our bio, as well as Dr. Palm might just put it up, or you can go to asknaomi.com. And here is our last poll. Did you support the cause this month? Yes. I'm planning to, or not yet. So in these comments, I want to see yes. Y'all better go over there and give me about $5, $10 over there. Stop playing with me.
That's so funny.
All right, my beautiful. First, let me say this to you, Dr. Will. Again, thank you, my brother, for just coming in and showing love and sharing your expertise and your insights and trusting me on this journey over here. True enough, surely, true enough. Do you have any last words for our listeners here?
Be kind to yourself, and he'll always.
Beautiful, beautiful. Dr. Mike, you got anything to say?
You know something, like I've been saying all day, is we got to check in on the mental health situation. People got to know, because it's not like the old days where people was just crazy, and you're looking for crazy stuff. It's about checking on people for all the little things as well.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. You know what, my beautiful people, my BTG crew, and just even all of the new people that just came a part of this community, I truly want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank you for calling in. I want to thank you for sharing your truths and all of that. I was nervous about this conversation in the beginning, but I'm so glad that we took the leap and went on and did it. And I'm looking forward to more conversations like this. All right, so next week, guess what? We're taking a break. But we will be back on June 12th with amazing, powerful guests that's coming on. And the conversation around love and healing community is we're just getting started. Again, Dr. Will, Dr. Mike, thank you all so much. And again, go to asknaomi.com. I'm going to spell it for you, AskNYOMI.com. And push that donate button. Again, BTG, thank y'all for always holding it down, coming in here in spaces and just doing what y'all do best. And we back in June 12th. And we got amazing guests next month. I can't wait. So again,
awesome.
Have an amazing weekend. All right. Be good to one another and yourselves, and always keep it sexy. Have an amazing day.
Hey, it's the goddess Naomi Banks, and I hope you enjoyed that last episode of Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap. And if you did, please like, subscribe, press that notification button, as well as comment. I'll see you next week. Keep it sexy.
Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap. This is where we talk about love, sex, relationships, cultural differences, and so much more.